Well, welcome back to Brussels, where leaders are arriving for the EU Council. One man who won't be at the table is the UKIP MEP, Nigel Farage, who is with me now. I can't remember, are you currently leader of UKIP?
I'm leader of a group in the European Parliament, which is why I'm here.
You're not leader of the party, though?
No, absolutely not.
Can I ask you, do you feel that the result of the British general election, where Mrs May was seeking a mandate she didn't get and where UKIP's vote fell dramatically, means that all-round people are beginning to think, well, perhaps this Brexit's going to be a bit softer than it would otherwise have been?
Yes, I do. And certainly in Strasbourg last week, looking at the other group leaders and Mr Juncker, who I chatted with, sort of off-air, they were all cock-a-hoop with the general election result. They saw it as a big vote against leaving the European Union. Now, whilst Corbyn did have a lot of young Remainers that turned out for him, actually, it wasn't really about Brexit at all. But that's their mood here, and I think that the Prime Minister goes into this meeting today in a position where she needs to assert herself.
I mean, it was how she defined it, though. She said, I need a strong mandate to negotiate in Europe. She didn't get it. Surely that implies, therefore, a change from the position which she was supporting of leaving the customs union, leaving the single market, controlling immigration.
Thus far, if we take the Queen's speech, everything in that Queen's speech was consistent, at least on Brexit, with what had been in the manifesto.
We also had the speech from Philip Hammond, which was...
I know. No, look, there's lots of pressure. I mean, oddly enough, her problem here is that they're dictating the events. They're saying, look, we're going to buy this house off you. We want you to sign for it, but you won't know what the price is until after we've completed the deal. And she needs to make it clear. We can't sign up to exit bills and all sorts of deals without at least knowing there is a prospect of some sensible trade relationship. But in many ways, I feel her problems are greater at home now than they are in Brussels.
But you were saying you feel that she's got to come out tough today when she gets her period at the dinner.
Yes, I do. I think that, and again, post the election, I thought Monsieur Barnier last week was looking very in control, absolutely setting down timelines, setting down what may be discussed now, what may be discussed later. And I think, from the perspective of getting a fair deal, we have to everything must be on the table simultaneously.
Do you accept now that no deal is not an option? That seems to be what ministers are saying.
In business terms, of course not. No, I think no deal's fine in terms of business because there's a big world out there. Politically, that now looks to be very difficult.
No deal's gone away, you think?
I think it probably has.
Now, what about the question which is going to come up first today of EU nationals living in the UK, UK nationals living in Europe? We're told Mrs May has got a big generous offer to make. What do you think that offer should be?
Well, I think she should have done it a long time ago. I think that the one thing we should have put down on the table as a gesture of goodwill is say, look, there are 3.2 million EU nationals living in the UK. They all came to the country legally because that's what was allowed. And frankly, to row back on that would class you as a banana republic. So that's the one big offer.
So what do you say? Stay here, keep your rights to access to the public services and all?
Well, you can't, as I say, you can't retrospectively, change rights you've given to people. The sticking point is, would the European Court of Justice have any decisions as to their rights or not? And that clearly would be
but the
unacceptable.
big generous offer should be you can stay and enjoy the same rights.
As UK citizens, absolutely.
As UK citizens?
Yeah.
And you would expect that would be reciprocated by
well,
the European Court.
Can you imagine if the EU didn't reciprocate how they'd look in the eyes of the world?
They've been discussing this morning in the House of Parliament the question of extremism, and of course there have been incidents on both sides, Islamist extremism and also extremism by the right wing. I mean, a lot of people in the Muslim community are saying that there's been a big rise in acts of hate against their community. What do you think should be done about that?
Well, two wrongs don't make a right, but certainly there is a reaction against what is going on. Look, what the break of this is, I don't know.
What do you mean by a reaction against what's going on?
Oh, because people are becoming deeply intolerant because we saw 3 terrorist attacks in the space of 9 weeks, and that has led to an opposite reaction, a very undesirable opposite reaction. Look, if we're looking at numbers, let's not forget, just this week, we've had an attack in Brussels, an attack in Paris, and an attack in Italy. So, look, we've got to stamp out extremism in whatever form it comes. And I would just say this. I thought the biggest disappointment in the Queen's speech yesterday, there was really nothing on counter-terrorism at all.
Nigel Farage, thank you very much indeed. Well, the European leaders are arriving here for a two-day meeting. Mrs May is actually going to stay for all of that European Council, not something she's done recently. We'll have